Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Bustaki, and welcome to today's webinar live from Salat Digital. Our webinar topic today is all about business continuity, collaboration, and flexible networking. In the last few months, we've witnessed how recent events have accelerated digital transformation trends. This acceleration in digital has driven new business models, but is also making workforce flexibility and continuity in the business a must. During our webinar today, you will gain special insights on how you can adapt to the new business dynamics and empower your teams with collaboration tools that make remote working more efficient and streamlined. You will also learn how you can maintain business continuity by offering a unique and a secure platform to collaborate from any device, anywhere, and anytime. And finally, how you can prepare the underlying network to adapt to the changes and be more flexible and scalable to onboard new applications and additional traffic capacity. Joining me today are two experts from Etisalat. Let me introduce you our first speaker, Peter Robkin, Business Product Owner at Etisalat Cloud Communication and Collaboration Platform. At Etisalat, Peter acts as a remote working evangelist, deploying and growing best practices to help organizations adopt remote working tools. My second speaker today is Ali Asghar. Ali is responsible for driving the product management portfolio for Etisalat's SDN and NFV journey, providing a cutting-edge, next-generation networking solutions for enterprises. Now, before we start this webinar, you can always ask us questions if you're joining me from LinkedIn or from YouTube by simply typing in your questions in the chat box, as we will be having a separate Q&A session right at the end. Over to you, Peter and Ali.
Good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to talk about the business continuity and how are we going to adapt to the new challenges in new worlds and how to empower your teams working remotely and efficiently. For those who saw our webinar last week, we've been talking how Etisalat teams helps customers to transfer your business workloads in the clouds, in the Azure and Etisalat Cloud in the secure manner. So today we continue the security topic. We'll tell you how it's possible to deliver the efficient communication and collaboration experience, but in a secure and compliant environment. So my name is Peter. I'm working at Etisalat, helping customers to work efficiently and remotely. I've been working in the remote mode for decades. So I'm happy to bring the platforms, but as well the culture to our customers. And I'm actually working with the largest and smallest customers here across in UAE. So let's start. I think over the last 6 months, we all noticed significant changes in our lives. So the quarantine and their social distancing forced lots of people who never worked from home, never worked far from office, to gain this new experience. The video conferences that we did before, probably a couple times a week, maybe someone even a couple times a month. Now we're doing 8 video conferences per day, and this is not the max. I know some of the guys doing even higher. We have a small competition. As well, we even noticed that our birthday moved now into the online sessions where we see all our friends, not face to face, but over their new technologies. Yeah, that's a new future. Welcome. And then next, please. So how does that all affect the business environment? Paul Romer, who is a professor of Stanford and actually Nobel Prize winner of economy in 2018, said a famous phrase that a crisis is a wonderful thing to have and a terrible thing to waste. Actually, if we will think a little bit back in the last recession of 2008, what was there on the table? We had a slow internet. Our video conference capabilities require rack of the hardware and then the dedicated person to manage that. And typically that was a privilege of the CXOs. Our phone calls outside of the office. Yes, of course, we already have mobile phones, but if someone calls your business landline number and you even been experienced to transfer the call to your mobile, you never know who actually calls you, and you've missed that. You missed that. You cannot call it back. So nowadays, everything has changed. We are lucky to live in the new days of new environment empowered by technology. And what we actually recognize from a lot of our customers, many digital transformation projects that have been on hold for a while moved very quickly, and then years shifted into their months and sometimes even the weeks. So welcome to the new technologically advanced future. Then we can work from anywhere. And on the next slide, I want to show you very interesting stats that have been gathered by their famous guys like Gartner. So the Gartner was very quick in the beginning of their economy slowdown, shutdown, asking CIOs, who is typically the same as we, technology evangelists. And then the CIO said, yeah, probably after even the things will settle down, we still believe 3/4 of the people not necessarily will be always working from the office. So that really boosted the work from home adoption. But what is even more interesting, Pricewaterhouse, very serious guys, talked to probably one of the most conservative auditorium in the businesses, to CFOs, and typically CFOs been saying, I mean, come on, work from home, it's a drain of the productivity. And now CFO is saying probably more than half of the people not necessarily being sitting in the office. I think that's a great news and great capability of technologies. So again, welcome to the new world. Then on the next slide, I want to give you few insights on what is actually happening in the industries. So what do we see of their most active 4 industries that face the crisis time but still have a very large volume of demands from the customers? Finance industry, the people moved out from the call center flows. The sales team moves out from the offices, but still, when you receive the call from the bank as a consumer, you expect that it is identified with a bank number that you know. How to do that? That's very important. Or when you give a call to the bank, you want to land to the contact center, not just listen to the IVR, no one is there, but you want to talk to the live human. In education, being parents, we all know how the field dramatically transforms across the higher education, across the schools, and now all kind of humans are studying with a new online environment that is supported with a new brand platforms. If you think about their retail experience as well, a lot of retail malls are now not so active anymore. And news from the last week, Amazon is using some of their shopping malls, they're converting shopping malls into the fulfillment centers of the orders of their online shopping, because we shifted our habits as consumers, and these habits are supported by the platform and the processes. And then last but not least, probably the whole medical and healthcare industry that is now on the cutting edge of, and most of our hopes is associated with that. But if we'll think about their chronic patients that have been before requested to visit hospital and see the doctors on their regular basis, within their pandemic time, of course, they try to reduce the risk, they try to stay at home. And last week news from California, one of the hospitals in California, which is very advanced technologically, both from their provider side and then consumer side, been having like 100 calls per day in the teleconsultations. So within start of the pandemic, it been raised to the 3,000 calls, sorry. So 30 times growth, just because we shifted our behavior. So if we look about their domains and technology on the next slide, how these use cases can be addressed, and what are the typical domains and few of their abbreviations you may heard. So the first one, when we talk about taking your business line identity, the phone business identity with you, we typically talk about the unified communications from the cloud. So no more hardware racked in your office. Now you can get the whole service, real-time media service from the cloud, so you can make and receive your calls when you're outside in the office from your business phone line. Very important for the many industries like finance. Collaboration, okay, what else should I say if I'm talking to you, just looking at the camera and having no one in the room, and probably hundreds of thousands of you see me? This is the online collaboration. Contact centers being as well typically very heavy hardware industry where you need to have a couple of racks of equipment sitting in the room behind your contact center floor. So right now, because you cannot put all the people in the same contact center floor, you move the hardware in the cloud, and this is contact center as a service from the cloud. And then the last but not least, very new and dynamic area that is called communication platform as a cloud, when the telco providers like Etisalat opens our traditional telecom grade network through the APIs to either your enterprise software developers team or even to the open developers community to use these granular APIs and embed it into your application in the context. So finance, when bank have your application, you already did their KYC with your customer. You know that he's your actual customer, and the customer knows because he's using the actual app from the bank. It's very easy to add their chat, very easy to add their video call. Same for their healthcare, because the patient records is a very tangible thing as well. You identify your patient and the doctor and have a video meeting inside the secure environment. That's all the capability of their communication platform as a service, and new wave how the telecoms are reinventing ourselves. So Etisalat developed umbrella brand Cloud Talk, and this is what we've been doing over the last few years. And I'm going to talk about each and every of these 4 pillars a little bit more in detail. So can you please go to the next slide? If we'll start from the telephony, so what actually we can give to our customers and how actually helping our customers in this area. So I mentioned already, you have your phone that is known for ages. You take it with you even when you're outside of the office. The identity belongs you regardless the people coming and leaving the company. It's property of the company. It stays in the cloud, but it's available from anywhere. We provide our customers with high quality voice. So it's not old and analog type of the voice, but sometimes you cannot hear what the people are saying, but it's a really new, good one, HD and even video. You can do the video calls because that's a new type of the service. And of course, you can use any type of the device. So you can do that from computer, you can do this from the desk phone, you can do it from mobile phone across all the network. That's a beauty of capabilities of the cloud-based telephony. So on the next slide, if we will talk about the collaboration, their collaboration offering from Etisalat has a name of Cloud Talk Meeting. So meeting is where the people meet each other online. And this platform has important aspects that are relevant for a number of industries in UAE, especially for the finance, especially for the government industry. So besides that, we can do video conferencing, we can do webinars, we can do the content sharing, and can efficiently work as a remote team. All their data stay in the country in a secure manner in the government cloud. So this is a service that is used by many important businesses and government entities within the UAE to work on daily basis on their secure and private topics, because that's the unique service that can ensure you this capability for the online collaboration. But of course, you also can use the same platform for the audio conference. So the same way as we used to do that over the last decades, you can dial in 800 number and get in the same context, in the same audio conferences, just with your voice. So that's the collaboration capabilities. Now on the next slide, if we'll talk about the contact center. The contact center is dramatically transformed over the last few years, and traditional hardware players being now challenged by their purely software newcomers who deliver you their rich experience and rich features from the cloud, so you can focus really on your business processes and serving your customers in the best way instead of the managing that hardware. But what's important, because now it's in the cloud, you can scale it up, scale it down, depending on your seasonality, which is also typical scenario in many of the industries. But as well, with a Cloud Talk call center offering, you can record any of the users, and then the recording stays within the country as long as needed. So that can address central bank requirements, that can address other requirements. other industry requirements. So all recordings and remains within area of UAE. And then the last pillar, which is actually one of the most exciting for me, on the next slide, I'm going to talk about what is the CPaaS, communication platform as a service. So that's exactly the embedded communications and these APIs I mentioned before. So how you can enrich your existing applications with a customer. You can add their chat, SMS, video, and voice as their omni-channel experience, where from the same platform, from the same telco great capabilities, APIs, you can get all the needed functionality. And as well, you can deeply integrate that into your backend system, because it's not the rigid service that has endpoint like a phone or like a video camera, but it's purely IT empowered APIs to integrate in your business processes. From Etisalat point of view, I think that's one of the most dynamic and quickly developing area over the few years. And I mean, we're very much excited to create new use cases together with you and to develop the new user experiences. On the next slide, just to put all these functional areas in perspective, the way how do we help the customers goes across three major areas. So number one, because Etisalat is altogether very strong telecom provider, IT organization, and managed service organization, we can deliver you end-to-end experience, taking your existing numbers, existing non-phone numbers in the cloud, and seamlessly migrate them. Use the single network technology, and Ali Asghar will talk about that in a minute, to deliver you the right experience, and then to do that as a managed service 24/7, so you don't really need to invest in the experts, because Etisalat definitely has very strong expertise with the NOC centers across the country. Another important area to underline is security and compliance. So as I already mentioned, the platform is fully deployed within country borders. No media traffic is leaving country, and it is certified by the TRA. It is compliant with voice over IP regulation, and that's why the services are accessible across all the networks, both fixed and mobile. But also because data stays in the country, that's addressed number of regulation across the industries, both for the recording and both for the real-time media, and gives you the high level of compliance and security. And then the last not least, but the area of all the advantages of the cloud-based SaaS type of the services. I already mentioned, forget about hardware. You don't need to buy anything upfront. You don't need to locate that in your office. Think about the rack space. Think about the connectivity for this hardware, and then the cooling and manpower. That's gone, of course. But in addition to that, that gives very good agility for us as for your service provider to deliver you within very quick timelines. So example of the contact centers or cloud-based telephony, we're delivering our customers within 5 business days if you don't need to deliver the phones, just the soft clients. Very good, very simple, and very agile to address your fluctuation or your emergent needs. And also very important, you always have an access to the new features, to the latest technologies. We do the updates of our cloud on the quarterly basis. That gives you new capabilities, new features, and all the dynamics. All these three pillars stays in the foundation of the network that is end-to-end managed, end-to-end viewed from the quality perspective, from the monitoring perspective, from the scaling and capacity perspective. And my colleague, Ali Asghar, will talk about Etisalat network capabilities in a minute. Thank you, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Peter, for the insights, and thank you, Noura, for the introduction. It's my pleasure to contribute to this webinar series, wherein we reaffirm the vision of Etisalat Digital in enabling enterprises and governments to embark on their digital transformation journeys. Let me start with the latest technology trends which are currently around us, starting from the base, that is networking technologies. So how are you connected today? From home, using your home broadband connection, from office, using your corporate internet service, or from a coffee shop, using the public Wi-Fi hotspot. What kind of device are you using? Is it a mobile phone? Is it a tablet? Or is it a laptop or a personal computer? By the end of this presentation, I will talk a bit more on the way networking technologies has evolved over the years, which also includes shrinking of the endpoint appliances. Other areas of technology trends are cloud, security, unified communications, which are discussed by my colleagues in the previous sessions of this webinar series. And these days, you cannot ignore when somebody talks about artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT technologies. These are a few of the other evolving technology trends which are making a difference in your digital transformation journeys. In the next slide, to set the base of why networking technologies play an important role, let me share with you some important stats around cloud and applications. Going ahead, on an average, an enterprise would be consuming 14 different kind of applications and connected to 3 different cloud service providers, which means 3 to 4 applications from 1 cloud service provider. Essentially, these figures of cloud adoption is on the rise, and enterprises need a solution to seamlessly move and operate multiple cloud services for the best experience on different kind of applications. It is not only about experience, but also about productivity of your employees. With these numbers, do we mean that we need 3 to 4 different cloud experts in your enterprise? Or do you need 3 to 4 different cloud certified architects in your enterprise? Well, I'm not sure would you like to invest so much of resources, but in the next slide, now let me talk about the networking trends as well. The next slide is talking about the eye-opening networking numbers. There is massive uptake in the interconnected devices, which will put tremendous load on the underlying network. Global business IP traffic would grow at twice the rate as on today. Average consumption per month for individual business users would reach as high as 60 GB per month, which before the pandemic was less than 30 GB. With smart city solutions too, video surveillance traffic is also on the rise on the internet backbone. So essentially, the trend suggests that the backbone networking needs to be agile and flexible enough to cater to such massive growth in data consumption coming up in the near future. In the next slide, we are talking about the evolving expectation of the enterprise. So cloudification is definitely an agenda that you want to cater to. Cost optimization is the need of the hour. Networks need to be agile and performance have to be up to the mark for you to enjoy the flexibility and control. And for that to happen, you need trusted end-to-end provider who can help you transform and modernize your network. At Etisalat, we come in as an end-to-end provider to transform and modernize this network. In my next slide, I'm talking about the evolving networking technologies. So today, businesses have moved from best effort network towards a software-controlled network. It has moved from CLI commands to portals. It has moved from rigid configurations to policy-based automation. And that's where the evolution of software-defined wide area networking comes into play. And my next slide talks particularly about this topic. Etisalat, since its inception in 1976, has constantly invested in the next generation technologies. As part of this, complete network transformation is underway, which includes virtualization of our complete core network. SD-WAN is one of the subsets of the massive journey that Etisalat is undergoing these days. As the name suggests, software-defined wide area network, which essentially creates an overlay software-controlled layer on the existing underlay. The underlays could be a private network, a public network, a wired network, or a wireless network too. The endpoints or rather the appliances used for this connectivity could be an x86 box, could be a universal CPE, or a virtual instance hosted in the cloud, which means the virtual instance in the cloud could also act as one of your branches. Security is an inherent element of SD-WAN. There are various options with which security can be enabled on the SD-WAN fabric. The first and the default way is to use what is there on the thin client which is sitting in your branch. And for sure, there is an end-to-end encryption available on the overlay network always. The second important way of doing security is to host a virtual function of the firewall on the SD-WAN device, on the edge device, which we also called as the VNF on-prem. The VNF on-prem would need a slightly larger CPE because it is hosting that firewall. And the third way of doing the security is directing the traffic to the nearest CASB provider. More on security piece is coming up next. Application optimization is one of the important features and benefits of SD-WAN. With this, you can decide which applications you want to prioritize in the branch. For example, Unified Communication and Collaboration Service, which Peter just spoke in the previous session, can be given priority over the other data traffics to ensure there is seamless collaboration experience, irrespective of the kind of underlay being used by that branch. Parameters like packet loss, latency, jitter are the major performance parameters which are constantly captured and monitored by the SD-WAN fabric. Using the information-rich portal of SD-WAN, you can decide what performance parameters have to be applied to each application on that particular underlay. So essentially, the power is in your hands to control the application flow and the experience you want to get out of that application. Certain applications and websites can also be blocked on the SD-WAN fabric. Cloud access can become seamless because you essentially do not need individual VPN tunnels being configured from branch to the cloud, but create that seamlessly using the virtual instance of the appliance in the cloud service provider. All these benefits delivered to the enterprise as a managed service from Etisalat. In the next slide, Etisalat is also gearing up to its network towards SASE concept, which is Secured Access Service Edge. With this, SD-WAN networking and security elements are combined together to form a solid combination to provide you low latency networks, end-to-end security management, and most importantly, preparing your network for a zero trust architecture. With close proximity to the cloud, Etisalat is geared up to provide you the SASE concept in the coming time. In my next slide, I'll be talking about few of the case studies that are under implementation at Etisalat. That is, one of it is SD-WAN in a retail chain. This is one of the customers of Etisalat, wherein he has 123 outlets in the entire UAE. His major pain points were consolidation of his subsidiaries, non-standard architecture across his outlets, and multiple vendors and products. With Etisalat Managed SD-WAN, we solved that problem by giving him a main broadband and a backup LTE link on those branches, with proactive management and monitoring, and ensuring quick installation and commissioning. This retail chain had tried doing SD-WAN on its own, but it realized the importance of going with a managed service provider very soon. The most important benefit that the retail outlet got up from us was cost optimization, because we know how the connectivity is, we know how the SD-WAN fabric should look like, template-based architectures that can be rolled across sites and easily scalable, and it allowed its IT staff to focus on critical initiatives. Managed service with 24/7 support was another important benefit that we got onto play. In the next slide, we're talking about the SD-WAN to be deployed in one of the government digital services company. This is a very, very unique case wherein the customer challenge was to have secured information exchange on a private network using a public internet, which is again what SD-WAN is all about. It's a very non-standard architecture because it is across the entire 2,000 different entities that we are building this network on. How did we solve the problem? Is by giving managed SD-WAN on broadband. We ensure there is end-to-end encryption on the traffic that is flowing on the SD-WAN fabric. We were doing quick installation and commissioning for these 2,000 entities, and a customized architecture was built for these 2,000 different entities. These 2,000 entities are all different. They do not fall under the same government enterprise. That's why we have different architectures, and every architecture was seamlessly integrated on the SD-WAN fabric. The benefit that the government enterprise got out of this was highly secure routing for the critical information flowing on the private network, template-based architecture that can be rolled out quickly. It allowed the digital services company to onboard entities quickly and monitor their onboarding. So this company now had 2,000 entities on a single pane of glass, which it can see, which is activated, not activated, and would be activated soon. And of course, this is a complete managed services that was provided by Etisalat, and that's where we add our value. In the next two slides, I'm talking about the key differentiators that we as Etisalat are getting onto the table. First, from reducing the complexity, that is, majority of the solutions can be deployed on an OpEx model. We have subject matter experts in all possible domain, not only for technology, but also who understand the requirement of the enterprise. And with recent acquisition of Help AG, we have further added subject matter experts in our security portfolio. We are constantly adding more and more subject matter experts to ensure that we have the right skill sets to do the right job. Geographical presence is also a key differentiator for us. We are all placed very well in the MENA region and also in the global region with our partners and multiple POP locations. Our partner ecosystem also consists of few of the finest global partners and OEMs who are helping us manage and operate complex projects. In the next slide, we have our cloud services, and we host major cloud service providers on our secure data centers. We have 9 data centers in the UAE with higher certifications and standards, and our data links are optimized to the core. Just to give an example, the home broadband user in the UAE typically enjoys speed as high as 200 Mbps, and on our 4G networks, speed of as high as 25 Mbps. With this, I conclude my presentation, and we are now open to Q&A.
Thank you very much, Peter and Ali, for that very insightful session. Indeed, I think COVID-19 has changed our lives in many ways and changed the way we communicate and the way we collaborate. Like, I, for one, stopped using my office phone for a while now, and it's been collecting dust, but just, we've been really reliant on these online communications tools these days. Now it's impossible that we live without them. Now, moving on to the Q&A session, and thank you everyone for your questions. I have a question from Samiha from YouTube, and this question is to you, Peter, is, I have a call center number which is already advertised. Can it be moved to CloudTalk?
Yeah, that's often an important question. I'm hearing from the customers, answer is yes, of course. That's your business identity. You've been living with that for decades, and this number that is known by your customers, and we can take both 800 numbers, the toll-free numbers, or 600 numbers, or your numbers across the Emirates, 02, 06, 04 numbers, and migrate them seamlessly to the cloud. So the answer is definitely yes.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Samiha. Now, the next question is for you, Ali. Is SD-WAN a replacement of MPLS private connectivity? And do we have in Etisalat co-management with SD-WAN platforms?
Okay, so yes, SD-WAN solution was initially made by the OpenFlow technologist, keeping in mind MPLS as a replacement. But as the technology has evolved, as the technology has crossed the chasm as it is entering the mainstream market, it is seen more as a complementing technology. So rather, it's not a comparison of MPLS with SD-WAN, it's more of a comparison of MPLS with a broadband connectivity. So SD-WAN can be given on an MPLS network or a broadband network. So the replacement of it, is it MPLS or not? That's more of a question that an enterprise would like to answer, because they know they had kept MPLS for a certain reason. They know that MPLS is still a secured private connectivity. With SD-WAN, there is additional layer of private security that adds to it. And talking about the co-management piece, yes, definitely. When we do our migration journeys, we first install the SD-WAN fabric and control it from Etisalat. And as and how the platform gets stabilized, we pass on the co-management benefit to end customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali. I have also another question from Tosef Ahmed from LinkedIn, and he's asking Peter, does Cloud Talk integrate with other channels like WhatsApp, email, retargeting marketing platforms as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair ask. I think what we see across all the industries, voice and video are good, but all of us sometimes prefer to do their quick chat in WhatsApp. I think there are a few good examples in UAE that has been already delivered with their WhatsApp-based chatbots, and we're working very closely on that. I think in a couple of months we should be able to provide you also with the APIs for their WhatsApp. Email will be all together with that, and then the social media we should look carefully. Just ping me afterwards, and I will give you more detail on that.
Okay, we will be sharing anyways the contact details for anyone who has did not get a chance to answer their questions. We have also Hamad from YouTube asking Ali, what's the difference between SD-WAN and a hybrid WAN?
So again, a good question. Hybrid WAN is a combination of multiple access technologies working together. So a hybrid WAN could be an MPLS plus a broadband connection onto the same edge device that the customer is terminating in the branch. Or it can be a combination of an MPLS network with NLT connectivity. SD-WAN is an overlay technology on top of this technology. So SD-WAN is working on these hybrid WAN technologies rather than a separate technology in itself. So I hope that answers this question.
Yes, thank you very much, Ali. I think we have enough time to take two more questions. We have another question for you, Peter, and it's can we use Cloud Talk for telephony and collaboration if they're outside the UAE?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is I'm happy to get these questions. I hope that people are still traveling, because I'm a little bit missing these good times when I can be in the country and then go somewhere outside. So I hope this is for the people who is able to travel. But yes, to be on a serious note, if we talk about the telephony, of course, your business phone is always with you, regardless whether you're in UAE or you travel abroad. And the same for the contact center. So the contact center agents can be located, anywhere in the world. The only important thing to still remember about their network quality that Ali was talking about, the jitter and latency that may affect the quality of the voice. But yes, you can be outside of the country.
Okay, and one more question, and that's the last question for you, Peter, before I let you go, is can we record the calls that are in the call center, whether we're using it for offices as well, and do we need it to comply with some kind of central bank regulations?
Yes. The answer is yes. I mean, what's important to I think to explain, that typically call centers need to have a call recording. However, because we build both the call center and the telephony on the same foundation, the same platform, actually we are able to provide the recording for any of the extensions that will be demanded by the customer. So for us, this is just incremental or add-on to the telephony line. And then all the calls incoming outbound will be recorded, stored in our cloud, and also to comply with their retention period. So the central bank, I think that the question was about that. Typically, this is 7 years. So yes, we will store that in the cloud for 5, 7, or 10 years, depending on your needs.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali, and thank you, Peter. I think we've reached the end of this webinar. And for our audience, thank you everyone for joining us. Just to let you know, if we did not come back to you today, I will be giving you our email at salatdigital@etisalat.ae, so you can contact us anytime for your queries. We have more webinars coming up, so make sure that you do follow us on our Salat Digital LinkedIn page. Thank you everyone for joining me today, and have a great day.